I would really love this question because it shows how much I've had to practice what I preach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was married twice. I have been married and divorced twice. My kid's dad, we were together 8 or 9 years from the time I was 18 to like 26 or something. And then I remarried about a year later. And that marriage ended in a very tragic way, which I don't really need to get into details. It did include um, alcoholism and things like that. So there wasn't much I had to do. There wasn't much I could do to save it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was really traumatic on me, on my part. And then I went through 2.5 years of deep healing around my relationship wounds, around being able to trust men that they could lead a relationship. And am I just a bad picker of men? Like, why did I have to, why did this marriage that was seemingly amazing, and when it came to sex and our connection, why did it have to end over something that ultimately I didn't really have any control over? Like, what made me pick someone like that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why did I create that? I had no idea at the time, right, why I created it, and I still try and make stories to really justify why I created it. And like, and at the end of the day, I think it just has to do with really taking responsibility for my part in it. And a lot of that reason was I had to do my own healing around men and providership
Yeah.
and being able to trust myself. I had to do the work to learn what it meant to actually trust myself to discern the right person for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, in regards to your question, how is my sex life and
Mm-hmm.
relationship now? To be honest, the first year that we were together, I didn't think we were going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
I
How
didn't,
come?
because I had always led with my sex, with my
Oh.
sexuality, when I would meet people and when I would date. And that kept me from being able to discern whether or not a partner was actually right for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally recognized that pattern and chose to not lead with that anymore, to actually pick a partner that can be a lifelong relationship, and someone that I can be with who's not going to let me down in the way that the previous ones did, um, my discernment I had to actually use my brain. I wasn't using my brain before. I was using my sexuality to
Yeah.
choose a partner. I chose the person that turned me on the most, the one that I had the most fiery connection with, all of those things. Not a good idea, ladies.
Yeah. I hear those are red flags.
Very big red flags. And I
If the
am,
chemistry is really, really hot and sparking, that's
yes,
actually like a red flag.
that's exactly what I did. And it was a terrible idea. It led to 2 divorces by the time I was 33. Like, bad idea. And I had to do the work. And then when I finally met someone that treated me nice from day one, who didn't pressure me for sex at all, who was celibate for 2 years before we got together.
Wow.
And and I didn't necessarily feel like an instant connection with him like I had the other guys.
Yep.
But I gave it time, and I kept saying yes to dates because he was treating me different than the other two. I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was right. It was a good thing. But when it came to sexuality, we were very different. And this is something that I teach a lot in my coaching programs, and is the erotic languages and being able to understand your erotic language, because that made it possible for us to be together. But it was a huge learning curve. I
Mm-hmm.
knew about the erotic languages when I met him, but I had never been with someone who was that type. And I was a sexual, so there's energetic, sensual, sexual, kinky, and shapeshifter. I'm a sexual. He was a sensual.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of heterosexual relationships, it's the opposite. Most women are sensual, many men fit the sexual blueprint. We were opposite. So
Mm-hmm.
it was very confusing and it was really challenging. And we had a lot of heart to hearts and long talks about how does this work? I'm not used to this. I've never been with someone like you, and vice versa. So
Like a
it,
healthy
yes,
masculine.
right. I didn't know
Yeah.
what it felt like. So it was not easy at all. And it took me 3 freaking years of being together before I honestly, like, okay, yes, I'm good now. I had to heal a lot of my own, what I call the shadow side of the sexual blueprint, which was like wanting to make him responsible for my pleasure. And he needed to meet me where I was at, and why, is something wrong with him if he didn't want sex as much as I did? None of that was true. And I had to heal a lot of like that within myself, and learning that as a higher desire partner that I have to meet my own needs a lot of the time. And I can't expect him to always be there and like rise up to the occasion every single time. It's not fair to him, because
What
then
do you
I'm,
mean meet a lot of your own needs at the same time? How do you mean? Can you get
yeah.
some
So
examples?
in almost every relationship, it's if you found someone that wants sex as much as you do, you're so lucky. Because that's not the case for a lot of
Yeah, it's
couples.
like a unicorn relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Usually there's and people that have that dynamic where they're each satisfied with the amount of sex, they're often wired sexually the same way. But you have to
Mhm.
understand that people aren't wired the same way. So it's very unlikely that you're going to end up with someone who is. So there's always going to be a higher desire partner, always going to be a lower desire partner. I don't say always, but most of the time.
Yeah.
And my desire, I'm like, I could have sex every day. Like my minimum is like twice a week. But my
Okay.
like I could be
I would
good.
love to get to twice a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd
So
like be excited about that. That's a goal. Just side note. Sorry, personal
yeah,
goal there.
right. So and like being able to bridge the divide between these preferences between people is sometimes not overcomable for some people. When you work with a sex coach, or when you work with people like me, you gain so much understanding about how someone is wired and how they operate sexually, that you understand. You don't make them out to be the problem in the relationship, because that's what happens, is that the higher desire partner often makes the lower desire out to be the problem.
Hmm. Hmm.
They need to fix themselves.
Yeah.
That's where I get a lot of women, is that they're the lower desire partner, and their husbands are the ones reaching out to me. Can you work with my wife? I'm
Oh,
like,
really?
that's not how it works, bud.
The wife needs to reach out to you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they'll want to fix her, and they'll think that something is wrong with her because she doesn't want it as much as he does. And I'm like, whoa, buddy. Like, you're actually the one who needs the help if you're coming from that stance, right?
Yeah. And that's not going to make her want to do
Very
anything.
no. Yes. So yeah, it's often about just helping partners understand each other and how they're wired differently. And none of them are wrong. They're just different.
Hmm.
And the more that you can be
Hmm.
aware of the differences and understand them and what actually works based on that person's erotic blueprint, the easier it is to work through the differences.
Hmm. Hmm. So so with your partner, are you, so like, how are you guys? Like, so you've been together 5 years. The first 3 years was a challenge. What's the last 2 years been like? Even through like day-to-day life stresses and adversity and good times,
Yeah.
bad times. Like,
Right. Okay, we'll go relationship wise and then sexual
okay.
wise. Sexual wise, it's more like once or twice a week, and somehow I have learned to be okay with that. Like, I never in a million years thought I would be okay with that. I'm totally okay with it. And it took healing a bunch of my own.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And that's what you're teaching people and couples or singles in your program?
Yeah, and it's mostly when I get male clients that I'm having to teach them how to heal the shadow side of their sexual, because
Yeah.
men that are more wired the same way that I am than there are women. But every now and then I'll get women who are like that too. For women, it's how to heal mostly the sensual and the energetic shadows, which is like, okay, if you're learning your yeses and nos, sensual and mostly energetics will say no to sex. They'll shut down initiations because they're not being initiated in the way that actually works for them.
Hmm.
They experience turn on through anticipation, through tease, through constant um, turn on throughout the day. But if
Uh-huh.
you try and touch their genitals or try to go
Correct.
straight for it's just like they're just like, get off of me, you know?
Yeah. You feel like an
So it's like,
object.
yeah, exactly. So for a lot of my energetics and sensual blueprints, it's like what is actually a yes here and what's just a no based on what you've determined how you are to be, like
Hmm.
the you create an identity about it. Well, I'm just not someone who likes to be initiated with, like, and they create an identity around it, and it's like, well,
Hmm.
that's just not me, right? Okay, well, let's find out who you are then sexually and what actually works for you, so you can give your partner a blueprint that actually works for you,
Hmm.
because most male partners don't really understand how an energetic or sensual blueprint works.
Hmm.
So the more intel you know about yourself, the easier it is to teach them what actually works for you. Um, so yeah, sexually, we've had to work through a lot of that, and I've come so far, and it is no problem at all anymore. So I am very satisfied with where we're at,
Yeah.
and we don't have arguments about it ever anymore, which was amazing because the first 3 years we definitely
Do
did.
you guys initiate each other, or are you noticing more of the like prominent initiator?
I used to always
Yeah.
initiate, and that was part of the problem.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I never allowed him enough space and time. He's a sensual slash energetic blueprint, and they need a lot of space and need a
Hmm.
lot of time and anticipation, and they need to feel like this, like less is better sort of thing. So when I learn to be able to give him space and time to initiate, despite feeling like I'm depriving myself of something, because that's how it felt for a long time, he actually did. And now that I'm kind of more at where he is with his desire level, it's so much easier because it's more of a mutual 50-50.
Yeah.
50% of the time he does initiate, because I actually give him the natural space and time he needs to do that instead of constantly like being on him, you know. So
This sounds very like just like healthy and ideal relationship to have.
yes.
I mean, I
That's
could see how, having this type of dynamic and equality could be a very fulfilling, long-term, true, genuine for fulfilling relationship.
yeah, yeah. And honestly, the scientific research shows that couples who have sex 1 to 2 times a week are the happiest, which is
Yeah.
very interesting, because there's always one partner who generally wants it way more than that. And
Well,
you look at the research, and it's actually like, no, the ones that have found like this healthy, um, I don't even want to say compromise. I don't feel like I'm compromising anything. I
yeah.
used to, until I really did the work. But I find it very true that this is a very, and there's no right number. Okay. I've worked with two energetics, a couple who were both energetics, like actually having penis and vagina sex once a month, totally enough for them. So
Yeah.
there's no right number. Okay. I don't want to get that in anybody's mind. But like what I'm saying is that the research has found, like, when you both can give yourself the space and time to build the anticipation and to actually, not expect it all the freaking time, unless you just really both work like that, then that's when you find the most satisfaction and happiness.
Yeah. Yeah, I've also heard or read, I don't know, probably somewhere that um sex orgasm for, male woman, it's actually like it is healthy to have orgasm like for your physical health. Is that true or is that just some mumbo jumbo?
No, orgasms are definitely healthy because they give you that oxytocin rush after, which is a bonding hormone. So it
Hmm.
increases your ability to be able to connect on a deeper level. But that, for me, that brings up the question of like, well, what is orgasm? Orgasm is a lot more things to women than it is to men. And
Hmm.
so is sex. Sex can mean a lot more things than penis and vagina.
Yeah.
And that's a lot where the blueprints come in really helpful too, to help people understand, especially our sexual blueprints, that sex doesn't just mean penis and vagina sex. Like it
Right.
can It can mean many things.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can have you can have sex with someone without doing penis and vagina sex, and they can both be sexually satisfied, you know.
Yeah.
So we have to bring that into consideration, and the fact that orgasms for women and men, like full body and energy orgasms, don't happen from friction.
Yeah.
So you can have orgasms without touching someone. You can absolutely do that. I
Yeah.
do that all the time. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I've experienced that before.
Mhm.
What about like on the relationship piece? Like when something, like if you guys are in an argument or you're, head to head to something, or there's financial issues or something with the kids or whatever, how does that affect, I mean, how do you, like any tips there that might be relevant to to sex and intimacy?
Yeah. The relationship part is by far the easiest relationship I've been in for both of us. And honestly, that's because we're very self-aware
Mm-hmm.
of the parts that are showing up when I do a lot of parts work in my coaching. And that's where we're working a lot with the inner child.
Yep.
And for myself, I definitely had a period where there were financial breakdowns. I guess this was about 3 years ago. And that became a really big topic. And a lot of the conversation was around, it was a conversation about finances, but it had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with my own abandonment wounds
Yeah.
and my own inner child crap. But I was so self-aware of what was going on. Like relationship wise, I know how to be there for my inner child and to reparent her, and I know how to direct her into a space of understanding that I'm never going to leave her. I'm always going to be there for her, and no matter what happens, we are going to be safe. Her and I
Mhm.
are going to be safe no matter what happens in my relationship. And when I
Good.
could that level of, like, when I could be in relation with my inner child at that level, she stopped throwing tantrums. So the
Yeah.
financial stuff, we got way more on the same page around that, and that hasn't been a problem in years. Obviously, we have like day-to-day life shit that happens, but it never becomes like a blow up argument. Like
Mhm.
I maybe that's happened a handful of times. And it's very quickly that I can catch myself. Oh, that's this version of me showing up right now. So we're able to
Mm.
very quickly call each other out on our bullshit stories from the past.
Yeah.
But we're also both very self aware people
Hmm.
of when these parts are showing up. And I'd say absolutely that the majority of couples don't have that level of self awareness. And therefore, they just keep arguing about stupid shit, and they think the argument's about the stupid shit when it's never about the stupid shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the biggest piece, I mean, just for healthy relationships, I mean, I think the most important one is a healthy relationship with yourself, but just with like, family, definitely romantic partner, friends. It's like the self-awareness piece is key. I mean, when I
Mhm.
was working with my life coach 9 years ago, 10 years ago, that was the biggest transformational thing
Mhm.
is kind of like being self-aware, coming back to that, noticing when I am reacting in a way to like something that might be happening in the moment really has nothing to do with that thing. It's just a past part of me getting triggered, feeling not heard, or seeing like all of that. I'm like, I mean, I feel like if more people were self-aware and like really, like truly, I'm not saying every moment, every second of the day, but they have done this inner work, um and they take responsibility for that, and accountability, like so like life, the world would be so different, not to sound cheesy, but the world would be different. And I think it's harder now to cultivate self-awareness and do the practices to get to a good place at that with all the media and the socials and all the like I think it's like It's like
Yeah,
it's
you're right.
nearly wow, just so much more challenging than it has to be.
Yeah.
It's
The
distraction.
Yeah. And one other tool that's been really helpful when I first started doing any work, which I'm sure you've probably heard of, but Byron Katie's The Work,
Hmm.
Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. Yeah, I was doing that like 15 years ago. So,
Actually, I never done that. I haven't done that worksheet. Can you give us a little
yeah, yeah.
of
So
it?
I think it's thework.com,
Yeah,
honestly.
the work. I've heard of the work. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a judge your neighbor, write it down, and then turn it around or something.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, you like if you have a judgment on your husband or something like he never truly listens to me, he just here's one thing but he doesn't really understand what I'm saying, and let's just take that as an example, he doesn't truly hear me. You would do this 6 question process. It's a PDF fillable. Just go to the work.com and you can download it in your native language, and then you just fill it out and it leads you through this inquiry, and then you turn the statement around. I actually shared this with my group coaching gals yesterday. So that's why it's like fresh on my mind, because one of them was like, my mother-in-law is driving me crazy and it's affecting our sex life, which is a strange thing to say, but it does.
Yeah.
So, like, we had to go through the mother-in-law shit. She feels like her mother-in-law doesn't respect her and it affects their sex life, like mega. And so we did the turnarounds on my mother-in-law doesn't respect me. Okay, let's turn that statement around. How might it be true that you don't respect your mother-in-law? How might it be true that your mother-in-law does respect you? How might it be true that you don't respect yourself? Right. So we did these turnarounds that she has you do on that worksheet. And it's like, oh, you start to recognize. So sometimes it's not always about going into the inner child stuff and the parts work as much as it is just like understanding the bullshit stories you're telling yourself aren't
Yeah.
actually as you thought they were.
Yeah. 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 Wow, time is flying. I wanna ask you this because so I'm hosting a retreat for my current clients in September. And the theme is around calling in healthy love.
Mm,
They're single women. I've been
yeah.
working with them for years, since before my daughter was born,
Okay.
and just committed clients, really invested in their healing and their personal growth, and really just getting outside their comfort zone all the time. And now they're at a stage to where they're ready to call in love, right? And like I have my curriculum and outline of what I'm going to be teaching, what we're going to be focusing on. But just hearing me explain this to you and sharing this with you with this upcoming retreat, and it's around attracting healthy love. What are some tips or advice that you have for me to consider adding into, like, to bring up?
Mm. Well, I have so much to say about
It can
that.
be some inner work tip, any intuitive hit or download you're getting right now. It can be the inner thing. It can be the actual, literal, practical, you know, be more magnetic, whatever's coming up for you.
Yeah, there are 2 things. One is the attachment style things and being anxious, avoidant, or healthily attached. Having these attachment patterns is a really big thing that you want to heal in order to attract healthy love.
Hmm.
But it's not about the attachment style. It's about your nervous system responding.
Yeah.
So I don't like pop psychology, but it is a way to give us language for some of these deeper things that happen in the nervous system. And these attachment styles show you what's happening in the nervous system. So they're really easy to pinpoint and then just go straight to the root cause, which is in your body. So
Yeah.
you shift it at that deep somatic level. And when you really work on bringing your nervous system into a place of regulation, it makes it a lot easier to attract the right partner for you. The other thing that comes up is, oh, man, I have so been seeing lately how we really, really have to look at the feminist programming and like what is actually true and healthy and what's not serving us anymore around this. Because I believe, and maybe you don't, or maybe others listening might not believe, but I believe that we've taken it a little too far.
Hmm.
And
I will
there,
agree to that. I'm actually in this work right now. Learn like anyway, go ahead. I'm just like, wow, I'm glad you're bringing this up.
yeah, it's huge. And it's one of the top reasons that there are more single 40-year-olds than there have ever been, ever. Because they
Yeah.
have no idea how to let a man lead. They have no idea and are so uncomfortable to receive. And it has so much to do with the feminist cultural programming. And it's made us so hyper independent that we don't know how to be in interdependence in relationship. And it pushes away masculine men.
Hmm.
So if you're a woman who wants a masculine man and to show up for you and to provide, whether it's providership of safety or providership financially or providership of children, then learning how, like, really looking at that conditioning is, I think, absolutely necessary at this point in human history around dating and like what we're seeing in the current dating environment. I do work with men who are, I work with a men's dating coach, and I see the opposite side of it. And I see what they struggle with. I work with them around their sexuality and
Yeah.
showing up on dates. And a lot of them don't have a lot of sexual experience, or uh, it's been a really long time, or they just don't know how to lead sexually. So I support them in that area. But I see a lot of, I hear their stories of dating women these days, and it's really hard to hear because I see how many of them are being treated, and it's wow. As women, we've got to do better. We've really got to look at how we aren't able to receive these men who really want to provide and give us more of what we say that we want, but
Hmm.
we are literally blocking them from being able to do it and letting them.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that.
I love that you bring that up because that's actually been my journey too in my relationship.
Mhm.
I have, I've had, a hard time letting go of my masculinity and my ego, my pride, my I can do it myself, I don't need you. I want you, but please know I don't need you. And a lot of that has changed leading into motherhood. And I've been feeling like weak in some ways or accepting, being more in my feminine and receiving and kind of like letting go of holding the reins so tight. So it's been a journey. But I love that you're saying this because yeah, and I will say this too. Just with some of my leaders over the years, and also I'll say this because I talked about it in my last interview, a current, leader I have in the business world, entrepreneurial world, I've had to step away a little bit because I'm like, I can't lean into this superpower woman, you can do it all, you can have it all, like I'm like, it just doesn't feel right to me right now.
Yeah.
Like wanting to be the best, most successful and be an amazing mother. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. It's a little too intense for me.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I'm glad you brought that up because I do think that's what the journey has been for the last, I don't, I mean, I guess we could say 80s, but I would say in my adulthood life, so I'm 41. So since like, 1920, I definitely have led with, I can do it all. I don't need anybody. And that was true, like it's only got me so far. Yes, I've been in a relationship for almost a decade, but I think it's been a lot more harder internally for me than what was necessary just due to the programming and learning to do away and let those beliefs die, let go of them.
Right. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal in relationships. I can't tell you how often this comes up in coaching sessions with my own clients, is really having, and honestly, I was having a conversation with a coach friend the other day, and I was like, yeah, man, I think it's going to take me like a whole lifetime to really unravel a lot of this feminist programming
Yeah.
because so much of it is not doing any of this good. Some of it is good, obviously, but there are definitely pieces of it, and the origins of it aren't good. If you really
Hmm.
knew the origins of it, you'd probably be like, that's crazy. I won't go into that because that's another topic, but a
Well, we
lot.
might have to have you on for that then too,
Yeah, yeah.
because yeah, I mean, I could go on a rampage on that too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would love to know, so you've already shared, that you are about some of your work, but can you tell us a little bit more about some programs you're doing or coaching or help that you're, you know, giving to the world right now? Like if someone wants to work with you or just reach out to you or learn more about you?
Yeah, for sure. I have the Shameless workshop. So, Shameless is going to be a 3 day workshop where we're going to actually do some embodied practices, but you're not going to be on video or anything like that. So, you can just hop on and lead you through processes. I'm also going to be doing some teaching. So, that'll be for anyone who has experienced any shame or fear around their pleasure, their body, their sexuality, and you really want to dive deeper into this work. That'll give you a little taste of what it would even be like to potentially join me in my Sex Goddess. It's a hybrid group and private coaching program. And I'll be sharing more about it at the end of the workshop, obviously. So that's my typical program that women join when they really want to go all in and do this work with me.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so that's June 19th through 21st in 2025.
Okay, coming up in a month. I'll definitely put that in the description below.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else?
And if you're watching this beyond that date, you can check out my free mini course. I have the 5 days to epic pleasure and passion mini course for women. So I think I shared that link with you as well, and you can sign up for that anytime.
Okay. Okay. And I have a question about, programs and offerings and, anyone who's like me who might be at a certain stage right now. They've been in a relationship.
Mhm.
There's no attraction issue.
Mhm.
There is just kind of like you've been comfortable for a bit and you've had children. But you want to prioritize your sex life and really connect on a deeper level in this next chapter of your life together. What, like, are you doing couples coaching, like just private, like couples coaching? What would that look like? Um, is that customizable? Like anything you
Yeah.
can say to that in the moment? Hey, sorry to put you on the spot. Just really
No, no
curious.
worries at all. Yeah, the typical path is to do the sex goddess stuff if you experience sexual limitations. If you're really struggling with libido, if you find yourself constantly saying no to your partner just because you don't feel like it, or you're saying yes all the time even though you don't want to just to get them off your back. These are signs that we have to work with you, not you as a couple. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I am a big advocate for doing the solo journey around your sexuality first. But there are instances where I have worked with the couple alone, apart from the solo work, and I'll weave in some of the solo work in the couple's journey. But yes, I do have a couples coaching program. It's called the Epic Sex Blueprint, and it's a 10 session private coaching package. So I only work with couples privately. And that is an amazing program for couples who don't have any sexual dysfunction or like any of the typical hangups. Like if your partner doesn't have any issue getting or staying hard or, you know, anything like that. And
Yeah.
if you don't have issues around orgasm, if you don't have issues around desire or libido, then we can start in the couples program. So that's called the Epic Sex Blueprint. When you go to my website, tillystorm.com, there's a link to all of my programs and you'll find it on there.
Okay. And are there investment costs already disclosed, or is it we have to book a call, and how does that work?
Yeah, the Sex Goddess program is has the investment cost in it, and you can book the call. It is application only because it's a small group, so we have
Yeah.
to make it's actually a right program for you. And the private coaching is obviously like you absolutely both have to be on the call. We have to determine if this is even what you both want and if I
Yeah.
can help you. So that's absolutely like let's talk about it. And the packages are really customizable. Typically, I'll do 10 sessions. It's usually 10 to 12, and there's like, no, I don't charge people more to do 12. It's just some of them take longer.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of them just take longer. I find that, 10 is about the sweet spot, but I have worked with couples even after the original session to like make sure that they're good and they got what they came for. So
Yeah.
it kind of depends. But that one, I don't think I have the investment on that one, but it is private. So it's obviously more than the group program.
Yeah. Okay. All right, great. I'm going to put all of this in the description, everybody. Um, I'll put it in the description. You can check it out. I'll put your website there and then, just the workshop you have coming up. I mean, I really enjoyed this call today. Really enjoyed this call today. And, it's funny, like for myself, and again, I know I'm not speaking just for myself, but it's like, you get to a stage in life, right? To where you're like, I don't want to just like go through the motions of the day,
Mhm.
right? Like I want to invest. I want to put in more effort. I want to not have I'm tired to be an excuse anymore, right? I want to just really have an epic, and I never say that word because that's just not my terminology, but I want to have an epic relationship, especially with someone who really loves and cares about me so much and me him. I'm like, I got to put more effort into this. I got to put more intention, more getting outside my comfort zone and learning
Mhm.
where my blocks and hangups are. So I really just appreciate this conversation. It's not a normal topic I have on my YouTube channel, but we're not gonna, a lot of my interviews aren't normal topics coming up. So I really love having you here today, Tilly.
Thank you, Nikki.
Yeah, is there any last minute things or final things you want to say or leave, the ladies with that are watching today? It's mostly women watching, but I have seen a couple guys.
Yeah. I mean, if you know that this is something that you want to, an area of your life that you want to improve on, it is like a big leap for a lot of people to even reach out and book a call or to take that first step because it is one of those topics that is so intimate.
Mhm. Yeah,
um, and it's hard to even give yourself the opportunity to crack the egg on this topic. Just know that's normal. And there's often way more resistance in this level of work and this on this particular topic, sex and intimacy, than any other area of your life. So I understand the amount of courage and heart that it takes to begin the journey, but I promise you it's worth it. I promise you it's so worth it.
yeah,
So I know there might be fear to even start down that journey, but I guarantee you, you're going to be so grateful if you just say yes and, go into the content, download the mini course, or join us for the workshop and just dive
yeah,
in.
yeah. Ah, amazing. All right. Thank you so much, Tilly.